I would like to extend a warm welcome and thank you to all of our guests, both in the room, here in person, and online, to our side event on the Bangladesh Genocide of 1971. As the 54th session of the Human Rights Council presents a platform for addressing such historical injustices and other human rights violations, Global Human Rights Defense seeks to shed light on the often overlooked and under-recognized genocide of Bengali citizens during the separation of East Pakistan from West Pakistan in 1971, and specifically to raise awareness about it and its lasting impact on individuals, families, and communities in Bangladesh. For those who may be unfamiliar, on the 25th of March 1971, the Pakistan military began a campaign of genocide against the ethnic Bengali and Hindu religious communities in East Pakistan. This spurred the 10-month Bangladesh Liberation War and later 13-day Indo-Pakistan War. Both ended on December 16, 1971 with the surrender of Pakistan. Although precise figures are difficult to obtain, approximately 3 million people were killed and at least 200,000 women were raped. Our event today aims to emphasize the need for the international community and the United Nations and other bodies to officially recognize this genocide. I will now present our first speaker, our esteemed founder of Global Human Rights Defense, Mr. Sital, who has worked tirelessly since Global Human Rights Defense's foundation 2 decades ago on raising awareness on minority rights around the globe, especially this Bengali genocide. You may now have the floor for your introductory remarks.
Thank you, Jessica, for the very good introduction. Thank you, everybody, for being here and supporting this haunted humanity tragedy that happened in 1971. I want to start with one thing, that the promise that the world made in 1945, never again. It should be again and again and again, because we know that that word is just a fake. It's a loose promise. And the institution where we are sitting now should take more action on this. And after that, we have the Bangladesh, the continued genocide in Pakistan, the genocide what we have now Ukraine, and fortunately it's getting more attention than all other incidents that is still happening, like in Yemen. And after that, we have the Cambodia, we have the Guatemala, we have the Bosnia, we have Rwanda, we have Darfur, and the Yazidis. And one of them is the silent genocide, what is happening in China against the Yazidi, the Uyghurs. No, not the Yazidi, the Uyghurs and the Falun Gong. I'm here to bring it to everybody here, and I hope you question us on that we should promise to make the agenda now for the UN. The UN has their own agenda, but we are the members of the UN, the NGOs, should put this agenda more priority. We should end this, because it's not only for us, it's for the people in Bangladesh who lost their family, who still missing family, people who have terrible experience on what's happened to their family. Evidence, and they've seen it, they feel it, they smell it, the dead body, and we accept it and it still continue. How come? Why the West is not taking this action? Why the West cannot put a priority in this and end it and bring the people who is responsible for that to trial? We can bring Putin in 3 months to the Hague if we want to. Why this cannot happen? We can put a ban on Iran. Why you cannot put a ban on Pakistan? Where is the priority? Where is the so-called countries who think that human rights is their selling item? They can pinpoint any country in the world, but they cannot pinpoint what is priority. It's about business, it's about who we can sell weapons and what we can use which country. Thank you for this. Our journey started with one person who is very close to me, Mr. Van Bommel. 23 years ago, we had our first event in the Dutch Parliament on the genocide of Bangladesh in the Dutch Parliament. So he will explain later. Thank you so much. It's a speech that I make it very short. What I wanted to say will be said by anybody else here who have more experience in depth. But we have a responsibility. Knowing what's happened, be quiet, not sharing, not taking action means all of us are equally responsible for the genocide, what happened there. So we should be feeling responsible for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sital, for your introductory remarks and setting the tone for our event today. You highlight the importance of action and accountability and responsibility, and these are at the core of what we do as a human rights organization, as well as what we aspire to and hope for from international institutions such as the United Nations. So thank you for those statements. Our next speaker is Mr. Harry van Bommel, a Dutch politician and human rights activist. Mr. Harry van Bommel has worked with the Bangladeshi diaspora for many years and was a leader of a European delegation visiting Bangladesh to talk to survivors and family members of the 1971 genocide. Mr. van Bommel publishes regularly on the Bangladesh genocide and is involved in the campaign for international recognition. Thank you for your efforts, and we are grateful to have you here to speak on your experiences and knowledge. You may now have the floor.
Thank you very much for your introductory remarks, Jessica and Mr. Sital. I'm very happy to be here. I won't go into the details of the atrocities of 1971. I expect most of them to be known to all of you in the room here. And I know that some other speakers, especially the esteemed scientist Mr. Holzbach, will go into details of the genocide and genocide character of what happened in 1971. I'd like to share with you some of the findings of the delegation that I was honored to lead to go to Bangladesh in May this year. To begin with, in May this year I went to Bangladesh as a leader of the fact-finding mission, which stayed there for a week, mainly to find out ourselves what really happened in 1971 during the liberation war of Bangladesh. The extent of atrocities committed by Pakistan against the Bengalis during that period. Our visit was organized by a Europe-based diaspora organization, European Bangladesh Forum, EBF, in collaboration with its partner organizations in Bangladesh, Amra Ekator and Tonjomo 71. The fact-finding team comprised of a Dutch university teacher, Anthony Holzbach, present here, the British political analyst Chris Blackburn, two Bengali human rights activists, Bikash Chowdhury Barra and Ansar Ahmed Ullah, and myself. Our team had meetings with victims and their families. We visited the International Crimes Tribunal, the Department of Genocide Studies from the University of Dhaka, the Liberation War Museum, and of course we made site visits to the killing fields of 1971. We were able to talk directly to the researchers and those who are working on the 1971 genocide. We have read testimonials in the archives of the International Crimes Tribunal and visited different spots, both in the capital, Dhaka, and the second city, Chittagong, where the major killings of genocide took place in 1971. By far, the most impressive encounter I had was with a 90-year-old lady who witnessed the killings in her home village, Yaga at Razon in Chittagong. In one incident at her village, the Pakistan soldiers killed 43 people, including men, women, girls, and young babies. I could see the grief that is still in her eyes, even now, 50 years later. By talking to the victims, the visit of killing sites, and by reading testimonials documented by the International Crime Tribunals, we have come to the conclusion that there is enough physical evidence in Bangladesh to support the scientific conclusion and the scientific consensus, I should say, that there was a genocide in Bangladesh in 1971. Our meetings with scientists at the University of Dhaka and the Liberation War Museum also support this conclusion. We will now take our findings to parliaments in Europe and across the world. Also, we will inform the general public by publishing a booklet with stories told to us by family members of victims. Together with Global Human Rights Defence, we will petition the Dutch, the British and the European Parliament to seek support for international recognition of the genocide. We will also hold a conference in the Netherlands and possibly in other countries. This will be done at the beginning of 2024. The idea is to get political and public awareness of the Bangladesh genocide, later to be followed by formal recognition. The Bengal diaspora will be actively involved in this campaign. The Bangladesh genocide is not an obscure one. Scientific evidence is widely available, most recently also acknowledged by the International Association of Genocide Scholars. There are also many documents referring to the atrocities as genocide, such as diplomatic messages, articles in international renowned newspapers, TV news footage, and many other sources. Despite all this, the international community remained silent to the 1971 genocide, which is one of the dirtiest crimes committed in human history. Moreover, there were geopolitical games. The United States of America took the side of Pakistan, China, Saudi Arabia too. Then, after the change of political power in Bangladesh, just 4 years after the independence, came a government which stopped all initiatives to take ahead the campaign for international recognition of the 1971 genocide. Good thing is now a number of international organizations have come forward and recognized the 1971 genocide in Bangladesh. A bipartisan resolution calling for the recognition of the 1971 genocide in Bangladesh by Republican Congressman Steve Chabot and Democratic Congressman Rohan Khanna has tabled in the United States House of Representatives. Non-governmental organizations working on genocide prevention and accountability, such as the Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention, Genocide Watch, and the International Coalition of Sites of Conscience, recognized the 1971 genocide. In a separate statement released at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, the recent issuance of a statement by the International Association of Genocide Scholars recognizes the genocide and calls for action by the United Nations and other world bodies. It will take an international campaign to achieve formal recognition of the Bangladesh genocide. Today, the world community knows little about the 1971 genocide committed by Pakistan. The Bangladeshi diasporas have to be more aware and more active, and they should work to reach out to the mainstream population, seek their support and the support of the European politicians as well. Pressure has to be made both at the national and the international level. I'm very pleased to see that Global Human Rights Defense and other international organizations have made it their mission to seek international recognition of the Bangladesh genocide of 1971. You have my full support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kapomo, not only for your words, but for your tireless and commitment over the years, 2 decades in fact, raising awareness on the Bangladesh genocide. You are truly inspiring in your efforts to continuously work on this project and visit in person to try to give voice to those who previously might not have had the opportunity. We are beyond grateful and honored to have you among us today. Our next speaker is Ms. Sanchita Haq, a diplomat from Bangladesh who is currently serving as the Deputy Permanent Representative of Bangladesh Mission to the United Nations in Geneva. Thank you for being here. You may now have the floor.
Thank you, Jessica. And I would also like to start thanking Global Human Rights Defense for organizing this event. It's indeed an honor for me to be present here and to talk about our glorious liberation war. But what gives us pain is when we recall the genocide which took place in 1971 in Bangladesh, which was former East Pakistan at that time. And as many of you know, and as Mr. Van Bommel has already mentioned, that 3 million people were killed, more than 200,000 to 400,000 women were raped, assaulted, physically violated. 10 million people were forced to take shelter in India, and 30 million people were internally displaced. And these are the figures which came out in different newspapers, in different testimonies at different times, and also in 1971. But as I said, that it gives us pain to recall genocide. What gives us more pain is that this the genocide of such a scale is still waiting for international recognition. And as you you know, it's intriguing that why this genocide has not been accorded international recognition even after 52 years of that occurrence. Doesn't it fit the definition of genocide which has been set by UN and international law? To the best of our understanding, it fits. Not only the figures that I have just mentioned, if you look at the history, why it happened, it's very evident that racial discrimination or an attempt to ethnic cleansing very much formed the heart of this genocide. It was the core which actually led to this genocide. You know, in the former East Pakistan, the civil, political, cultural rights of and also economic rights of the people of former East Pakistan, which is proudly Bangladesh now, were trampled like anything. We were considered racially inferior, and that's why just after the independence of Pakistan in 1948, it was decided by the then leader of Pakistan that Urdu should be the only state language of Pakistan, whereas we were the majority, the Bengalis were the majority, and we were denied of our right to speak in our mother tongue. So that was the beginning, and that was a flagrant violation of our cultural rights, our political civil rights. And it did not stop here. In 1970, the general election, when our people voted overwhelmingly their indisputable leader, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who raised voice against Pakistani misrule and racial discrimination, when they voted overwhelmingly for them, and Awami League, the leader, the party of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was not allowed to form the government, although he won the election. So this was also a blatant violation of our political right. So, and economic deprivation was so evident in the history of 24 years of our stay with Pakistan. So all these things actually culminated in 1971. Rather than handing over power to an elected party, what was given to Bangladesh or the people of Bangladesh was a military operation, and a brutal military operation which started in the last week of March, on 25th of March, and which was named, as many of you know, is Operation Searchlight. And the campaign, it was just a brutal mass murder campaign. And the second part of it, which they proudly call Search and Destroy Operation, that not only killed thousands of, millions of people, that also targeted women, raping them, and weapon of war. Gender-based violence is always used as a weapon of war. And the third phase, which was another very crucial chapter of this genocide, is which started in December by killing or targeting the professionals, the intellectuals of Bangladesh. So all these constitute a horrendous genocide, and this is really, really obnoxious and unacceptable that this kind of mass killing, genocide, is yet to be recognized by the international community, which boasts of upholding human rights. So from a definitional point of view, 1971 genocide of Bangladesh, which was done by Pakistan Army, definitely it fits and it deserves to be recognized as a genocide. From a human rights perspective also, this should be recognized as a genocide. So I would also like to tell you that the racial discrimination, that this was a part of the racial, racial profiling or ethnic cleansing. It also came out in different documents. The International Commission of Jurists in Geneva, they prepared a report in 1972 based on the documentary evidence and oral testimony collected from European and US citizens who had access to Bangladesh and also who had access to the refugee camps in India. They and three internationally reputed jurists, they came up with this report, and it clearly said, I would like to read it out to you, that some of the actions of the Pakistani military and their auxiliary forces had been directed against Bengalis simply because they were Bengalis. It also mentioned the killing of prominent intellectuals because they constituted a potential future leadership for the Bengalis. The latter stands as evidence of racial discrimination. And and what the report concluded is that in addition to criminal offences under domestic law, there is a strong prima facie case that criminal offences were committed in international law, namely war crimes and crimes against humanity under the law relating to armed conflict, breaches of Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions 1949 and acts of genocide under the Genocide Convention 1949 Part 4. And several newspapers at that time, like the Sunday Times, which published Anthony Mascarenhas, the defected Pakistani journalist's writings titled as Genocide. Then there was US publication Saturday Review, which published an editorial, the testimony of 60, which had the accounts made by Mother Teresa and Senator Edward Kennedy. All had the accounts of atrocities committed by Pakistan military in the eastern wing of Pakistan. But more importantly, the blood telegrams of the then US Consul General in Dhaka. He wrote, many telegrams to US capital, which had this account. So there are many evidence which says that it was racial discrimination and racial profiling. And before I conclude, I would like to say that the Pakistan government had never brought any Pakistani military personnel to face prosecution. Although the Hamidur Rahman Commission, which was set up by Pakistan, and declassified excerpts show that there were clear evidences that the atrocities and killings were executed in 1971, they never bothered to bring any of them to justice. And they never apologized to Bangladesh for what they come. That is the minimum they could do, but they didn't do that. But on our part, our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she set up two international crimes tribunal to try the collaborators of Pakistan Army, Bangladeshi collaborators, who helped Pakistan Army to facilitate this genocide. She rather brought these collaborators to justice. She declared 25th March as the Genocide Day in Bangladesh, and the Liberation War Museum, which was set up in 1996, they are also working tirelessly to secure international recognition for 1971. I know that there are some recent initiatives globally. One has been done by my co-speaker, Mr. Van Bommel, to collect evidence for the international recognition of the 1971 genocide. Then U.S. Congressman Ro Khanna and another congressman, his name is Steve Shepelton. They have also brought a resolution to secure international recognition. So these are, we think these are historical initiatives which would really help us in getting recognition for the victims of genocide. That is what we can do to show our respect to the memories and also to the surviving family members of the 1971 genocide. With this, I once again thank the Global Human Rights Defense for inviting me to say something on this genocide. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much for being here and giving us a perspective from Bangladesh. I particularly appreciate how you highlighted the violations that were ongoing before the actual genocide took place, and sort of shedding light on the fact that these kinds of mass crimes do not exist or occur in vacuums, that there is always a context, and that recognizing them is vital in, securing justice for the victims as well as the surviving communities. We also appreciate you mentioning the national efforts that Bangladesh has sought to sort of seek justice at a national level for the community. I will now introduce our last speaker, Mr. Anthony Hoslap, a lecturer at the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam, who holds a doctorate degree in anthropology and genocide studies. He has written several articles and books emphasizing that genocide is not just aimed at obliterating the perceived other, but to purify the other in its totality, destroying cultural heritage, language, places of worship, and other identity indicators. His background in genocide studies is vital in highlighting the gravity of the Bangladesh genocide and its need for international recognition as such. You may now have the floor, sir.
Thank you so much. And also, I want to give my gratitude that I can be here and talk about this very important issue. And thank you, Cito, for his strong words. I cannot agree more. Let me first state why the word genocide is contentious. I do not agree that it is contentious, but let me try to explain. The word genocide rankles legalists who are hesitant to invoke the term for two reasons. First, the law is slow. It takes years to gather evidence, make arrests, hold trials, and render judgments. Second, for legalists, the determination of genocide requires proof of intent. This term is a centerpiece of the 1948 United Nations Convention, which defines genocide as acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. Besides killing, the Convention specifies 4 other methods of group destruction: inflicting seriously bodily or mental harm, creating harsh conditions of life, inhibiting reproduction, or forcibly transferring children. To give a recent example, to also show how genocide is not just committed in the past, but is still happening today, if there is widespread agreement that Azerbaijan has committed war crimes and quite likely crimes against humanity in Nagorno-Karabakh, some politicians, legal scholars remain hesitant to label it genocide given the high standard of proof required by the Convention. There's another question often posed to me by citizens and students. What's the difference between crimes against humanity and genocide? As one legal scholar explained to me, crimes against humanity is about protecting individuals against crimes regarding their civil rights, the legality of the status. That's all in the Human Rights Charter. Genocide is protecting a group. This implies that there is an abstraction in genocide. Where crimes against humanity, individuals are targeted, during a genocide, a group is targeted, or more specifically, an identity is targeted. Not for what they did, they are targeted for who they are, and what they are symbolically stand for. Jews were vermin in the Second World War. Tutsis were called slow invaders. Bosniaks were considered collaborators with the Ottoman Empire. This was imposed danger of the Greater Serbian Republic. Underneath all these terminologies lies an existential threat by the perpetrators, a fear of an existential threat, that this one identifiable group will undermine the nation state and gain power. The answer is often a preemptive strike. These people do not form a threat, but are an imaginary threat nonetheless. A threat that should be dealt with. This is also why the violence in genocide is wholesome and complete. Not just groups get destroyed, but also the churches, cultural heritage, language, like was spoken earlier, and all other identity indicators. A successful genocide is a genocide when a group no longer exists and is even erased from history books. The name forgotten. The only example I could find recently is the genocide of the Vietnamese Cambodians during the time of Pol Pot. Only 1% survived. Scholars who view genocide through social scientific lens are less hesitant than legal scholars. Although the views vary, social scientists are more concerned with patterns of group destructions than with strict legal criteria. This social scientific perspective aligns with the work of Levin himself, the Polish legal scholar who credited the word genocide in 1944. Although physical destruction was often key, Lemkin pointed out that genocide includes, this is very important, attacks on a group's cultural, economic, social, religious, and political life, and the intent to replace these with the national pattern of the oppressor. He mentioned it already in 1944. The Nazis, he argued, sought to do this by multiple groups. Given these different understandings, how is it possible to determine whether Pakistan in 1971 committed genocide? There are grounds to do so based not just on conventional understandings, but also on legal and social scientific understandings. Significant evidence points to genocidal intent and incitement by the perpetrators. Pakistan, for example, repeatedly claimed that East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, was part of Pakistan and needed to be reclaimed and cleansed from non-Pakistani, non-patriot elements. Among other legal evidence suggesting genocide in East Pakistan were forced deportations and from towns where generations of Bengali lived. Bangladesh was surrounded. No help was applied by the international community. Males and females were taken to mass graves. Huts were burned down, with children in them. In my travels there in May, I met, same as my colleague, a lady of 90 years old who had seen her husband and 6 children being burned alive in one of those huts. These weren't enemies. They were Bengali, nothing more. No freedom fighters or demonstrators, no spectators of the political upheaval that erupted around. In many monuments I saw during the travel there, I saw names of children who were 2, 3, or 6 years old. Children who had no ideal conception of the political situation. They were killed in fields where they played soccer. Why? Because they were Bengali. The Bengali genocide was a genocide on grounds of ethnicity. Stanton, a genocide scholar and professor of genocide laws, speaks of 10 phases that leads to genocide. These stages are fluid and not step-to-step development or a roadmap. One step does not lead immediately to another step. They can happen simultaneously. The stages are 1. Classification. Make a division between us and them. 2. Symbolizations. Names given to the other to distinct them as different from the in-group. In Bangladesh, the term no real Pakistani or non-patriot were often used. Sorry, I'm a little lost now. Then we have dehumanization. Bengali were no longer seen as true Pakistani, but as traders that caused an existential threat and had less civil rights because of that. Polarization. The outsiders were excluded, sometimes taken to villages. In some cases, maps were made where ethnic Bengali who were perceived as freedom fighters were marked together with villages where mostly Hindus lived. Preparations, also a phase, were also made by soldiers, often as we see in many genocides, by an internal brigade or special forces that gather weapons, pick the killing fields, and search which town possessed the biggest threat that is perceived. The removal of identity in the cases like beheading and removing hands is one of the last stages of Stanton. So the killing is the 9th stage of Stanton, right? And the killing itself has a symbolic meaning. What surprised me when I was in Bangladesh is how many hands were cut off. And think of the symbolism of this. Hands have fingerprints. Their identity was literally cut away. Then we have the last stage of Stanton, that's denial. Denying that the genocide had happened. The ruse that it was just a civil war. Even though the victims tell another story, talk about the random killings of civilians. There's also another element present here that should not be underestimated. By denying the genocide, you deny history, cultural trauma, psychological damage. One of the tactics that is often used is called reverse mirroring. Not they, Bengali, were victims of a genocide, Pakistan. An example of this trails all the way back to the Ottoman Empire and the murder and killing of millions of Armenians. In a museum in Antwerp, there's a display of Armenian victims. The board, however, the name tag right next to it, to the casket of skeletons there, says that they are Turkish victims of the Armenians who committed genocide on them. Now, while I speak, Pakistan uses the same technique. They speak of the Bengali genocide on the Pakistan in the press. This reverse mirroring muddles the water. It retells a horrible tale where there is no accountability for perpetrators and collaborators. But at the same instant, genocide in Bangladesh is recognized by Genocide Watch, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, and the Lemkin Institutes. Other institutes are still investigating. While I was there, I saw many names drawn on monuments, young and old, males and females, killings that were indiscriminate, towns being burned, temples and mosques destroyed, in the cloak of civil war and civil unrest. For this reason, I believe Pakistan has committed genocide. And people who have fled the country in the aftermath should still be persecuted and held responsible for the acts they committed. International law and genocide conventions require us to do so. Regardless of one's positions, we must not lose sight of one of the most important things. Bringing an end to tremendous loss of life and suffering. That we have to find closure for those who have suffered genocide. And ultimately, holding Pakistan responsible for the act they committed. That was the importance of the convention in 1948. An importance that should not be neglected or ignored, but implemented as it was intended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kosta, for your academic and theoretical perspective on the genocide. It has given us a lot of insight into what happened and sort of the justice that needs to be taken to ensure accountability, closure, and recognition of the genocide. So thank you so much for your words. I will now give the floor back to Mr. Sital for the concluding remarks.
Today, as a representative of the global human rights defense, we call upon the world and community. We call for justice. And we all are accountable for that. That we should support the initiative to say that the recognition of the Bangladeshi genocide should be not taken more than 1 year to see that it's happened. And as Mr. Van Bommel said, that we are lobbying at political level, on UN level, but the best lobby is you. You have the power. The UN is you. The UN, you can demand from the UN. You can demand from your government. You can demand from your European leaders. It's our duty to do so. Let's say that we should work and finish this darkness for the people who are still looking for justice. And let's make the world never again, really never again. And that is our wish, to have a better future in this earth that we should care about for now and for the future. And this is, I want to give us a message. Stop, give these people what they need. They need recognition to end their pain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sital, for your concluding remarks and the call for recognition. I'm going to quickly summarize what we've discussed here, and then hopefully we have time for a couple of questions. I'm going to just quickly summarize, and then we'll move on to questions and statements. So what we have sought to do with our side event here today is certainly to raise awareness and to emphasize the need for recognition by the UN as we sit here today. Not only do we want recognition for the surviving victims, we also want a sense of closure and justice for them as well, given the horrors and atrocities that have occurred. As the experts on this panel have mentioned, there has been clear violations leading up to the mass killing. There has been an intent to destroy, and what occurred in 1971 against the Bengali citizens certainly classifies as a genocide according to the various definitions set out by international and legal institutions. We sympathize greatly with the victims and the ongoing pain that they experience, especially the victims who are still alive today, who have lost family members and suffered themselves. As such, we call on you and the various national and international organizations that you represent to get the victims justice and recognition on an international scale. I will now turn to the audience for a couple of quick statements before our time is up. The gentleman in the front.
Thank you so much. I have to first be grateful and thanks to the Global Human Rights and Mr. Shardat. He organized this side event, a very important issue. On this important issue, I have some few words, if you allow. I am Rahman Kollur Mamun on behalf of Bangladeshi diaspora in Switzerland. In this valuable conference, we should recall the 1971 genocide in Bangladesh, which was planted and prepared by the Pakistani military. Is one of the worst mass atrocities witnessed after the Second World War. In 9 months, the occupation army killed approximately 3 million people, subjected between 200,000 to 400,000 women sexually slavery, rape, and other forms.
What is your question specifically?
Exactly is not my question, is my grateful and thanks that this genocide has been recognized by the UN resolution. That's why Pakistan Army does not accountability, and Pakistan is still now continues genocide in Baltistan, Sindh, Pushtun, and others community. So it's very important that the Pakistan Army should resolution and accountability by the UN.
Thank you, sir, for your statement and support. Does anyone else have a question? The gentleman here in the front.
Mike.
Sir, can you turn your mic off?
So I'm Stadsha from Sindh, and I'm follower of GMC. We Sindhi people were at the time of war in Bangladesh with Bengali peoples and Bangla Bandhu Mujibur Rahman. But at this time, same Pakistan Army is doing in Balochistan and Sindh. But there is no statement from Bangladesh on this event. So I will request you to put this matter also at the international forum, what Pakistan is doing in Balochistan and Sindh. Thank you very much.
I'm afraid we can only take questions related to our event today on the Bangladesh genocide. Thank you so much, though, for raising awareness on these important issues. Does anyone else have a question? Where? The gentleman all the way in the back, please.
Thank you. I'm Ravi, but similar for genocidal war from Tamil homeland in Sri Lanka. When I was a child, I I read so many horrendous stories in 1971. My heart goes out to the families of the victims. We are experiencing the same genocidal law by the Islamic State. How we can work with you? We truly believe that the Bangladeshi genocide should be recognized by the international community. How we can work with you? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Does anyone on the panel want to address the question? Yeah. We will take a question from the lady on the right next.
வணக்கம். எனது பேர் செபஸ்டியன் தேவி. நான் இலங்கையில் திருகோணமலை மாவட்டத்திலிருந்து வந்திருக்கின்றேன்.
Hello, I'm Celestian Devi. I'm from district of Trincomalee in Sri Lanka.
நான் இங்கே வந்திருக்கேன் 2008 இதுவரை காலம் இங்கே வந்து போயுள்ளேன். எங்களுக்கான நீதியை கேட்டு நான் வலிந்து காணாமக்கப்பட்ட சங்கத்தின் பிரதிநிதியாக இருக்கின்றேன்.
I'm a representative of the Association of Infosecured in Trincomalee district. From 2018, I'm coming to this forum to seek justice for the Infosecured people in Sri Lanka.
இந்த பாகிஸ்தான் நாட்டில் 3 லட்சம் பேர் கொல்லப்பட்டார் என்று யுத்தத்தினால் கொல்லப்பட்டது என்று சொன்னார்கள். அதே மாதிரி தான் எங்கள் நாட்டிலேயும் 3 லட்சம் பேருக்கும் மேற்பட்டவர்கள் 1,50,000 பேர்.
I'm so sorry, but is your question related to the genocide of Bangladesh? Otherwise, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to... Do we have any more questions? I'm going to give it to the gentleman in the red there.
Yes, thank you. Mic is not on.
The gentleman behind you. Ma'am, please. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. I'm not sure. I am a gentleman. I am a journalist freelance accredited here. Like the gentleman behind me, I remember, and the whole world was shocked at what happened in 71, 72. It made a big headlines and big concert, as you showed on the screen. I am not sure. Maybe you can rephrase it to me. What is exactly the issue you discuss here? Because to my knowledge, there is no ban, no censorship on discussing the issue. Bangladesh has been an independent country for half a century. India sides against Pakistan on that issue. So is it just a discussion on the qualification, whether we should call it genocide or this or that? Or is it an attempt to revive a forgotten issue, which in my experience is not forgotten at all? It remains, with Biafra, one of the best remembered slaughters, if I dare that nasty wording, in the 20th century, in the post-war 20th century.
Okay, Mr. Osak would like to answer.
Yeah, let me answer this. What you have to keep in mind with genocides is that if a country does not recognize it, the chance that they will continue is big and enormous. And it is not in any way respectable for the victims, and it doesn't give closure to the victims. As a matter of fact, there's only one country, and keep it in mind, one country who recognizes the genocide. That's Germany. No other country, not Rwanda, not any other country has recognized the genocide. And that means that repetition is a possibility. And that's why it's so dangerous.
Thank you.
I will take the final question from the gentleman in the front, please.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Lack of recognition of the genocide of Bangladesh. Pakistan is now committing genocide in Balochistan. You have missed the chance of taking action on Bangladesh. It's your opportunity. I address the Bangladesh Ms. Haq. Please table a motion of genocide taking place in Balochistan we will do all we can to help you. And that genocide now is extended to Sindh and Pakhtunkhwa. If we don't stop this member state, it will continue to do that. Because it got away scot-free with Bangladesh case, it believes it can do what it's like. Please table the motion in UN. We need a country to put the case forward. We can't do it ourselves. It has to be a member state of the UN. Thank you.
I'm afraid due to our time limitations, we're going to have to adjourn our event here today. I want to thank you again for participating, and to also let you know that next year, Global Human Rights Defense will be organizing another event on Pakistan, sort of to get a final call for action against crimes it has committed and continues to commit. It will be a one-year campaign for justice. Thank you very much.